Hi guys, this is Hai Kumar Kurtivada. In this video, we will learn about content projection, and this is my part 2 of content projection. I have explained what are the problems and why we came up with this content projection approach in my previous video. Please watch that for better understanding. So let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code. In my previous video, I have created a child component that is nothing but a child, and this child component has been injected in your app component by using its selector. It is accepting two HTML contents. One is this one and one is the second HTML content. And if you go to the component.ts, so I'm passing these values dynamically. That means by using the property binding, I'm trying to pass some HTML content to my child component. So this is the approach which we did in my previous video. And if you go to the child.component.ts, we have two input decorators for passing two HTML contents to our child component. Now, there are few problems which we saw in our input decorators. So now we'll try to resolve them by using your content projection concept. So let me go here, and the first problem here we face is we are creating multiple input decorators for passing multiple HTML content to our child component. So that is the first problem. We'll try to resolve it. How to resolve that? So let me go here to the child component, and inside the HTML content, let me remove all this div content and let me comment this. Now what I want to do is I want to create one div, and inside this div, based on our priorities, it has to be render the content. So let me go to the HTML and let me remove this two properties, and also let me go to the child.ts and let me remove that input decorators. So let me comment this. Now let me go into our HTML content, and inside the TS of app component, we are passing some set of content here. So let me pass this set of content directly by using a child of this selector. So I'm passing the child content into this app child, that is a child component. So these two HTML elements I want to render in my child.component.html. So how to do that? And also if you see here, in the previous video, I have used a H1 and opening as H2, but we didn't saw any problem in our content, or we didn't saw any errors. If you go now into our HTML, it is showing an error like H2 is the opening tag and H1 is the closing tag. So this is one advantage by passing our HTML content directly in our HTML file itself instead of passing as a property binding. So let me change into H2. So this is the problem which we have fixed now. The second thing is I want to showcase these two H1 and H2 in my child component.html. How to do that? By using a tag called as ng-content. So a ng-content is the content projection tag which was given by Angular, and this is a customized Angular element which will not showcase on your UI, but instead of that it will act like a placeholder. If you pass some HTML content to this, so it will fetch all the HTML contents and it will showcase in our child component. Let me go to the browser, and if you see here, hi, I am using Angular 14. This is in app component and child works. Here we are seeing that child works, and after that we have two things. Hi, this is sample HTML content. Hi, this is heading 2. These are something which we are sending from our app component, and it is trying to render in your child component by just using ng content. For example, if I go here and I want to add one more tag, so let me go to the app.component.html. Let me add this paragraph tag. Let me copy this paragraph tag and paste here. Let me remove this content and just use tag, my para tag. So now I'm not changing anything in my child because already child know that where to render this content. And if you see, ng content is an element, so it will be replacing your inner HTML content with this particular ng content. So let me go here and you can see my para tag. So now we have resolved first problem, that is using of input decorators. In this case, we are not trying to use any of the input decorators, and also we are not trying to create any of the variables in my parent. Let me remove this parent elements. So paragraph and also HTML content. Let me remove this HTML content and save this. Now go to your child component and remove this input decorator. So we are not even using that input decorators. Now what I want to do is just I want to introduce some intermediate content for this ng content. That means in my HTML I want to show these two h1 and h2 on the top level, and then I want to show some intermediate content, and then after that intermediate content I want to show this paragraph. So how to do that? For example, now we have ng content here, and let me use a paragraph, and that paragraph is having some set of content something like this. Let me use intermediate content. Copy this and paste here, save this. Now let me go here and reload. Now if you see, this is my intermediate content is coming at the last, and my paragraph tag and all the remaining childrens which we are passing from our parent that are rendered on the top. For example, if I try to copy this and paste here again, how it looks like, whether it will show on the top as well as at the bottom, or only at the bottom or only at the top. Let me go to the browser, and if you see here, this is my intermediate content. That means the ng content is taking only the last priority. Whenever you have multiple ng contents, then it will select only the last updated one. So that is the reason it is rendering this one, and it is trying to ignore ng content, and it is trying to update only the last ng content which we are using. So by using ng content, we can just render the content which is passed from our HTML. Let me save this, and ng content is providing one attribute called as select. So let me go here and write select as an attribute, and this one will accept three types of selectors. One is id selector, class selector, and element selector. So now in this case I want to showcase h1 as one selector. So let me use an id and use some name, first ng content. Let me save this, and let me use this first on my HTML content as hash. Hash indicates it's an ID. Let me save this. Only the first h1 will be at the top level. If you go here and you are seeing, hi, this is sample HTML content, then I am getting some intermediate content, and remaining dynamic content is shown at the below of this intermediate content. Let me go here, and there is one more selector called as class selector. So how to use that? Let me go here, and instead of using an ID, I'll use something called as class. Here I have used ID. Now I'll try to use a class. Class is something like a CSS class name. So I'll use heading 2 as my class name. Now how to access this? I want to show this h2 after this intermediate content, and now the selector is something like a class selector. So I'll use a dot and heading 2. Heading 2 is my class, and now it will showcase the first element, that is h1 id element, and h2, that is heading 2 element in my class selector. So I am using a class and I am trying to showcase that class selector, and later I am using ng content. So the remaining HTML content will be rendered in the last. Let me go here. If you see, hi, this is HTML content, hi, this is intermediate content, hi, this is heading 2. For example, if I try to introduce one more intermediate content after this ng content, then the positions will be absolutely in a sequence. That means h1, h2, and the paragraph. So let me go here, and you can see h1 intermediate content, h2 intermediate content, and then I am seeing the paragraph tag. So now if I go and increase one more paragraph here, paragraph tag 2, and save this, now you will be seeing two things, tag 1 and tag 2. These are rendered in the last. That means only at the ng content, which is stored in the last, which is not having any selector. That means whatever selectors are matching, it is rendering, and whatever the selectors which are not matching, that will be at the last ng content. Let me go here and let me remove this paragraph. Just I'll use this paragraph as an element selector. So let me use select, and for this selector let me use a paragraph, that means a element selector. So now I'm using the element selector, and this element selector will be rendered in the UI. So my para tag. And now what is the advantage of using this selectors? The major advantage of using ng content with a selector is whenever you change this ng content elements or interchange one element with the another element, the position will change. So let me cut this and paste here, and let me use this heading 2 in the last. So now we have given the paragraph in the last in my parent component, but in the child component I am using it as second element. So this particular paragraph element will be rendered as a second element in our ng content. Let me go here, and if you see here, this is my heading 1 intermediate and the paragraph, then I am using heading 2. So this is how the elements will be rendered whenever we are using ng content. So whatever the sequence you are passing in your child, that doesn't matter. How we are populating them and how they are used as a placeholders in our child component only matters whenever we are using ng content. And also, if you inspect that particular elements in your HTML dev tools, then you will be seeing something like paragraph, heading 1 and a paragraph and h2 tag. That means only we are seeing the tags but not ng content tag. So ng content tag is a placeholder, and whenever it renders some content in your HTML DOM, then this ng content will be removed by Angular and it will act like a virtual element. So this is how your ng content will help you to send the data from your parent to child. And the third problem is whenever you have some data which is dynamically changing and how it automatically changes in your child. So let's see that. If you go to the app component.ts, you have something called as dynamic content, and I want to showcase in my paragraph. So how we can showcase by using interpolation. So dynamic content I am using as an interpolation, and the dynamic content is having a tag as a string in the initial load. So let me go here, and you can see on the initial load you are seeing a tag, but when the user clicks on this update para, so that will be updating your dynamic content and that will change the string into element. So let me go here. If I click on this, the my para tag has been replaced with my para element. So the dynamic content, whatever we want to change or whatever we want to update in our child component, that also works with our interpolation. This will not work out whenever you are using an inner HTML. So this is how the ng content, that means in content projection, will be helpful, and it will solve all our three problems. One is intelligence problem, one is error handling problem, and one more is dynamic content changing whenever we are sending some content from our parent to child. And also by using the selectors we can place our elements however we want, and the decision can be happened in our child component. So this is how the content projection will work, and we'll see how to test this in our testing tutorial. And I'll give a brief how to test each and every content projection along with the selectors. And also, I want to let you know about TechZet. TechZet is a platform on Medium where you can learn all the backend stuff. Mainly, it is focused on the Adobe Experience Management, Magento, as well as OSGI, along with the basics of Java. And you can see the Sling framework completely. So just have a click on the link below in the description and have a look on this Medium blog. If you like, please like, share, follow Media blog. Hope you like my explanation. If you like my video, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.